This episode is brought to you by Believe Podcast Network and BetOnline.ag. The Super Bowl is here. You can get it on all the action at BetOnline.ag. Tampa Bay, the first team in history to play for the title on their home field, is currently a 3.5-point underdog against Kansas City, looking for back-to-back titles for the first time in almost 2 decades. BetOnline has hundreds of props on the game, including game MVP, margin of victory, and even the length of the national anthem. Always available online and on your mobile device. Visit BetOnline today. BetOnline today, your online sportsbook experts. And now, welcome to Play the Bay.
From Channelside Drive, where Lord Stanley Cup rests.
Time ticks down, the Lightning win the Stanley Cup!
Travel across the bridge to St. Pete to find our American League champs.
And the Tampa Bay Rays have just won the American League pennant.
And get ready to fire the cannons.
Lob pass toward the end zone. Gronkowski, he makes the catch. Touchdown Tampa Bay. What a great grab by Gronk.
Because it's time for another episode of Play the Bay. Play the Bay.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Play the Bay. Guys, it's Super Bowl week.
It's Super Bowl week, and I'm getting nervous every single day because
He finally says it out loud.
Aren't you excited, though? It's like it's anticipation upon anticipation that the Bucs are in the Super Bowl at home for the first time in NFL history against the defending champs. What better storyline? Tom Brady, the old guard, facing Patrick Mahomes, the new guard. Look at that storyline, everyone.
The GOAT versus the child. The little kid against the godfather of the NFL. I got to tell you, you can't get more excitement than that. You can't.
No, you can't.
You're excited. Have you guys been into the city and seen any of the festivities or things going on for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, so I went on Saturday. My wife and I celebrated our 3rd anniversary on Saturday and went and stayed downtown Tampa. Didn't go into the NFL experience because it was sold out, and I'm not waiting in lines for all that, even though I heard it was pretty cool. But from the atmosphere around downtown Tampa, it was awesome because there was people in Bucs gear everywhere. Sparkman's Wharf was packed without masks. It was just a good time. You could feel the electricity that, a major event is going to be going on within a week. It was great. I loved every second of it. It was cool because I think they had a flag football tournament down there too. So they had some flag football teams down there. And then it was just media presence everywhere. It was really cool. It was cool. Yeah.
I have not, but everybody that's been down there, everybody that I've talked to has said the same thing. I mean, it's really, it's electric. It's exciting. A lot of things going on, obviously down near Ray J, and, guys, time's building. We're getting closer to Sunday every minute. I'm ready. Let's just bring it on. Let's just make it happen.
I'm here for it. I'm excited. But let's get our guest on. We have a really exciting guest today. We have former Buccaneer center who played from 1983 to 1992, Randy Grimes, also the founder of Pro Athletes in Recovery and the author of the book Off Center. Randy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on the show, Randy. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Hey, how excited are y'all about what's going on? Is this crazy?
If you would have told me that in 2020, going into 2021, that Tom Brady had left New England, come down here, recruited his boy Gronk to be on the Bucs, and now the Bucs are in the Super Bowl, playing in their home stadium for the Super Bowl, I would have told you you're lying your ass off. You need to get away from me, and that you're just talking
test, right?
Yes, exactly. You need some kind of a head check right now because I wouldn't have believed you. What are your thoughts on this, Randy? What did you think about when Tom Brady was coming down here, and then all the pieces had followed him afterwards? What did you think about that?
Well, I didn't know how much gas he still had in the tank. I knew he'd sell a lot of tickets. I knew it was a great move. But I just didn't know how much he had left. Of course, obviously, he proved us all wrong, and he's got plenty left, and he's got plenty for next year too. But the one thing I always knew about that guy is that he was going to bring that air of confidence that this young Tampa Bay Buccaneer team needed. He was going to be that had that air about him in the huddle that was going to build confidence with everybody. And let me tell you, as a former offensive lineman, you want to go back to the huddle and see a quarterback that's in charge and somebody that you can count on. So he definitely brings that to this young Buccaneer team. And I think that's, that makes him worth every penny they pay him.
It's crazy how the winning culture suddenly brings it down to all the other sports teams in Tampa, the Rays, AL champs.
Yeah.
The Lightning are the Stanley Cup champions as well. So Tom Brady's got this magical voodoo magic that he must bring to everywhere he goes. And the avocado ice cream and the blood of babies that he's eating to keep healthy and young. I don't know what it is, but I want to figure it out because I want that in my life.
I'm glad he brought it. Right. I want some of that too. Hey, thinking back, how grateful I am that the city's able to go through this. Because, when going back to when I first got here in '83 and even all the way through '92, we had some pretty lean years. Every year I would come in and think that was going to be the year. That's the year we signed DeBerg, or that's the year we signed Steve Young, or that's the year that Benny was drafted. I always thought we were just that close. And then when the season gets started, depending on injuries or the way the football bounced, we as it turned out, my best season was 6-10, but I always thought that next year, I always had hope that was going to be the year that it happened. It never did, but the fans were always so loyal. They were always turned out. They filled that sombrero every Sunday, back with the creamsicles and,
Yes.
a lot of those games with the sun beating down on them, they were always there and they were always loyal and they've always been there. And that's who I'm most excited about. Having this experience now.
My first pro game was at the old Sombrero where they played the Chicago Bears and they wore the creamsicle uniforms. That holds a special place in my heart when you mentioned that.
Who doesn't love the creamsicles?
Oh, I wish they would have brought those back for the Super Bowl in general. Like that would have been awesome to see Tom Brady and the rest of the guys in creamsicle uniforms. That would have been great.
Well, it's been a magical run down the road here with the last 3 on the road victories. And, it seems like all that work that Tom did when we first signed him and he was getting together with those guys over at the high school and having those practices and stuff, all of that, the fruits of that labor there is finally coming to pass here as I see everything tightening up and I see this whole team gelling. Offensive line, the passing game, the running backs, defense. It just seems like it's all coming together now. And what a key time, huh? Because this is going to be a tough game.
Yeah, I totally agree. Randy, I know you're obviously one of the good centers and one of the experts. We got 2 really great ones playing on Sunday. We have Austin Reeder and we have Ryan Jensen. I know Austin, I think, is from Coppell, Texas. Now, is that close to Tyler where you are, or is that kind of in the ballpark?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'll have to check that out, but I'm not sure.
So tell me, what have you seen of both these guys? Have you had an opportunity kind of to see both of them play? And who do you think has the advantage when it comes to center play?
I'm notorious for watching the interior 3 linemen play. Whenever I watch a game, I focus right on what's going on with the center and the 2 guards. And I'm so impressed. I love what Ryan brings to the game. He's mean. He's nasty. He's looking for trouble. He's downfield blocking. He's going to bite somebody. He's going to kick somebody. He's going to kick somebody. And I love that. It reminds me of the way Sean Farrell and Ron Heller used to play. They were always not only doing their job, but they were downfield looking for somebody to clean their clock. And that's what I see Ryan doing. I think he's a great communicator. Everybody seems to be working together. And, that's a real gift. That takes a lot of time to get that continuity and that just that cohesiveness to where everybody's moving and working on the same page. But in Kansas City, they have a lot of the same kind of guys. They're mean and they're nasty. Yeah. They're young, and they've got some struggles this week with the offensive line. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out by the end of the week. But right now I'm betting on our Tampa Bay guys. I like the way the tackles are playing. I mean, we made a great pick in the right tackle with Wirtz, and I really love how he's playing and how he's developed. And the main thing is, Brady knows he's protected out there. And listen, those guys just need to keep a little bit of a pocket. Brady just needs a little room to step up. They know exactly where he's going to be. It's not like he's Steve Young and he's going to be out there roaming around and trying to make something happen. A lot like how Mahomes plays. But
Yeah.
it's going to be a great game.
Yeah, Randy, as a former player, obviously the Bucs have made it to the Super Bowl as the first team to play in their home stadium. And we can't really relate to that game atmosphere on the field as a player, but how much do you think that's going to impact the Buccaneers? Do you think they're going to get some sort of surge of confidence or momentum playing in their home stadium? Or do you think that the Super Bowl is going to have enough of a neutral kind of feeling to really keep it fair?
Well, a big game is a big game, but home field advantage is home field advantage. And I say that, but after watching Tampa Bay go into 3 different other home fields and win big playoff games, and I'm not so sure that's such a big deal anymore. I know back when I played, home field advantage was the greatest thing you could have, and you treasured that. But Kansas City's a good team. They've been there before. They know how to win the big game, and that's what we're up against. And it really doesn't matter where it is. It's going to be a good game. They're going to come ready to play.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking, I think, at a high-scoring game, but kind of taking the eye off the ball here for a second on the game. I know when you were drafted, obviously the NFL draft now has been built up so much. It's televised. There's a lot of media, a lot of press. How did the draft work back in '83 when you were drafted in the second round out of Baylor? I think you were picked 45. So how did it work back then?
The 1983 draft, I was sitting by a telephone in a duplex in Waco, Texas, Baylor University with my wife. We had been married for, almost a year then, and we didn't know who was going to call us. Somebody had given us for a wedding gift one of those French-looking phones, and that's what we were sitting around, me and her, and we were just staring at it all day. We didn't know who was going to draft us. We had all kinds of rumors, all kinds of phone calls that day from other people, and it was nothing like it is now with private jets and green rooms and televised, and it's nothing like that. But I was so glad to get that call from Coach McKay, and really it was pretty quick. He just called and I picked it up and he said, "Randy, this is Coach John McKay. You just been drafted by the Bucs. I'll see you tomorrow. Click." And I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute, Coach. Where's Tampa Bay?" And, I mean, I was a kid from East Texas who had never even seen the ocean. So going to the seaside community of Tampa, Florida, and not only starting our marriage and our lives together, but our families and my career in pro football, we were so excited.
Yeah. And you mentioned John McKay. You kind of got the opportunity to play under a lot of head coaches. During your time with the Buccaneers, that a lot of coaching turnover. And I'm interested to know kind of how you feel about Bruce Arians, his, offensive scheme of kind of risk it, no biscuit, and then, how he's doing as a leader with the Buccaneers.
I love his coaching style, and that's the kind of style that I missed when I was playing. Back when I played, it was that junction boy mentality where, it was if you didn't practice hard, you didn't play hard. So, everybody was practicing hard. We were beating the crap out of each other all week long, and then just barely had enough left in our tanks to play on Sunday. And I never understood that mentality. That's the way it was with Coach McKay, with Coach Bennett, of course, Ray Perkins, because we were doing 3-a-days, and even with Richard Williamson. It was just that mentality. Now the game has changed so much. They're out in shorts and T-shirts, and the reason I bring that up is because, it extends guys' careers. When you're not constantly beating on each other all week long. Medical advances, in the training room, and the different things that have come out is it advanced guys' careers or extended guys' careers. So the game has just changed so much. But Coach Arians, he brings that. He's a player's coach, and yet that's a term that we as players use for people that we want to perform for. Guys that think of their players and in every decision.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Kelly.
No, I think that's great. And I think, like you mentioned, he has been described as a player's coach. And I think, with Tom Brady coming in, obviously he has a ton of experience, and we're seeing him really kind of be able to lead that offense in a way that maybe former quarterbacks in Tampa Bay haven't really been able to. As a center and working so closely with the quarterback, how do you think that kind of dynamic is between such a veteran quarterback who really can coach himself and call his own plays, and then a guy like Bruce Arians, who is such a talented offensive mind?
Well, he's such a player's coach that he lets Tom go out there and play his game. Tom's smart enough to come up to the line of scrimmage, look over a defense, read what he's about to go against, change the plays if he has to, and Coach Arians lets him play. I mean, the guy's proven over the test of time that he's able to make those decisions and get the team in the right position. So, I commend, that's kind of hard for a coach to give up that kind of control. But I commend Coach Arians for doing it and for letting Tom be Tom. And why not? Tom has proven time after time after time that he can handle this job and that he can make the big play and get the team in the right situation.
Yeah, for sure. And, you've been doing a lot of really incredible work with athlete recovery. I would love if you could just talk a little bit about your experience. And then obviously you're the founder of Pro Athletes in Recovery, your experience with White Sands Treatment Center and the Victory Recovery High School here in Tampa Bay. So if you could just kind of go through your journey and how you got involved with that and what made you want to get into that work after your career.
Well, and I was that guy that was willing to do whatever I had to stay out on the field, and I was not going to be the guy that got a reputation for always being on the injury report or always missing practice or always being worked on by the trainers back there. I was going to stay out on the field at all costs, because if I wasn't in my position, somebody else was going to be, and that was not going to happen. It's, again, that old mentality, that old warrior mentality that we used to have. And that meant taking handfuls of pain pills every day while I played for the Bucs, and staying out on the field during practice and playing through games with injuries, and taking handfuls of sleeping pills to get to sleep at night through the throbbing pain. And I justified it so easy. I looked at it like a necessary evil, because I wanted to be the best center that ever played the game. I wanted to play the game forever. I wanted to feed my family playing football. Those are the ways that I justified it. I wanted to go to the Pro Bowl. I wanted to be all pro. And so I never looked at it for what it really was, which was a full-blown addiction. I just justified it as a necessary evil. And, that went on for my pretty much most of my career there in Tampa. And, I never expected to take that necessary evil into my private life, into my retired life. And, that's when things really spiraled out of control, and I just couldn't stop the insanity for so many years, and all the pain and the suffering and the devastation that I caused my family and everything over those 20 plus years. And, finally in September of 2009, I put up my hand and asked for help. And, unfortunately, it took me a long time to do that. And, for whatever reason, and a lot of it was guilt, a lot of it was shame, a lot of it was pride and ego. And but finally, the perfect storm was coming together, my bottom, as they say, and that was all happening in the spring and summer of 2009. And finally, in September 22nd, 2009, I finally got help.
Awesome. Yeah. So we had a question in the comments. Is the NFL taking CTE as seriously as it should be? And obviously we just saw Patrick Mahomes, really take a hit during the playoffs, went through concussion protocol, and then ended up coming back to play. So it's something that we've kind of seen in action recently. And do you think that the NFL, it's a hot button topic. We've heard it, we've seen movies about it, but are they really taking the necessary precautions with their protocol to take it as seriously as they should be?
Well, they've certainly come a long ways from back when I played. I remember getting knocked out one time in Detroit and walking off on their bench, and their team doctor sent me back into the game. I mean, that's back then they would just hold up fingers, and if you could even guess within 5 or 6, then you were good enough to go play. So concussion protocols have come a long way. I think more science has been applied to it. I think that we're obviously further ahead and advanced in the way we diagnose those. I thought Mahomes came back pretty quick. That was kind of strange, but they know more about it than I do. My concern is that they're not dispensing narcotics like they used to. And, and it's not that old mentality of off-label prescribing. And over the last decade that I've been advocating about this and telling my story, I think the NFL has gotten a lot more accountable with how they do dispense and prescribe narcotics. The DEA has gotten involved. I don't know if you remember a few years ago when they stopped our team doctors from prescribing while they were on the road and things like that. And all that was going on. And a lot of that was because of the advocacy work that we were doing to just make them more accountable. And it's not that I blame the NFL or blame the Bucs. I mean, I'm responsible for everything that I have ever put in my mouth. But it was available, and that was the mentality back then, that North Dallas 40 kind of mentality, and you did what you had to stay out on the field, and I was willing to do that. I'm responsible for that, but it was available to me. And the crazy thing about it is this went on for about 8 years of my career, and not once over that 8 years did anybody ever say, Randy, why are you slurring your words, or why are you nodding off in meetings, or why are you late to practice every day, or why are you the last one to leave the building every day, and pills are missing out of the drug safe? Nobody ever questioned me because I was always playing good. So that was the mentality. As long as you were playing good on Sunday, nobody was going to say anything. And, when I finally came into treatment, I knew I wanted to make all this pain and suffering that I'd put so many people through for so many years, I wanted to make it mean something. And that was kind of the birth of Athletes in Recovery, because I knew there was a lot of guys out there like me, like Tom McHale. You guys remember that, that were sick and suffering. And for whatever reason, guilt, shame, pride, ego, were not putting up their hands and asking for help, or they didn't know that there was resources out there for former NFL players. So I started Pro Athletes in Recovery, and teamed up with the Player Care Foundation. We started putting the word out that there were resources out there for former players. We were helping hundreds and hundreds of former guys who were out there self-medicating and didn't know that there was any resources available. We were so successful in helping so many guys that Major League Baseball got involved, and NBA got involved, in the NHL, and things like the Jockeys Guild and Motorsports Safety Group and the LPGA, the PGA, started working with all these former athletes, because it didn't matter what sport you were from. When you didn't have that uniform to put on anymore, or you didn't have that locker room to sit in anymore, or you didn't have that playbook in front of you anymore, then you struggled. And a lot of that was the issue we were dealing with most of these people. I know that was my issue. People ask me all the time what I miss most about football, and it's not being out on that field. It's the locker room. I miss the guys. I miss the camaraderie in the locker room.
Yeah, no, I think that's incredible work that you're doing, and much needed in this industry for sure. Before we get you out of here, we got to know what your score prediction is for this weekend. You said the Bucs were taking it, but I'd love to know what you think that score is going to end up being.
I've been saying all day over here on Radio Row that the Bucs by 10, and everybody's looking at me like I've got 3 hits. I've got a great feeling that it's the Bucs by 10.
I like it. The offensive line woes for the Chiefs is going to be a big equalizer, I think, for the Bucs pass rush, and I think we're going to see Patrick Mahomes on the move a little bit more than he's used to. So we'll have to see if he's up to it.
I think you're right. And the game's going to be won and lost in the trenches. I guarantee you.
Yep.
Oh, the hog mollies up in that's where you pay those guys. That's right. Where you got to win it.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Randy, plug all your stuff. Tell people where they can find you. Any social media, any websites that you'd like them to visit.
Yes, you can please visit my website at proathletesinrecovery.org, or you can find me at randygrimespeaks.com. Of course, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and also Twitter at SoberCenter60. And also, hey, we're having a Safe Bowl. And what that is during the Super Bowl and 3 hours before, from 3 to 6, we're gonna at White Sands Treatment Center in Plant City. We're gonna have in the athletic complex there. We're gonna have an event for 3 hours, and we're gonna try to provide what we're gonna do is provide a safe atmosphere for people in recovery to come, be with like-minded people and to enjoy the pre-events to the Super Bowl. So we're excited about that. That's the first time that's ever happened here, and we're going to get as many people in recovery and provide a safe platform for them to come celebrate. And that is Sunday from 3 to 6. And also I've got a book coming out this summer called Off Center. And also, I got to tell you about the Victory Recovery High School out in Newport Richey that we just did the ribbon cutting for a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. And it's a second recovery high school in the state of Florida. And we're very excited about that. So I need people to support that. It's, our children and our greatest commodity. And we've got to protect them. And, we're losing an entire generation of these kids right in front of our eyes. So we've got to do something about what's going on. We're in a pandemic within a pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Randy, we definitely appreciate all the work you're doing, especially with athletes, kids, high schools. I know that we'll talk about this on our show now for the Safe Bowl, going to that location in Plant City. And thank you for coming on tonight. Kaylee, what do you got for them?
Yeah, thank you so much for telling your story and sharing your experience with us. And it was great to have you on. So we'll definitely have you on again for sure in the future.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it, guys.
Awesome.
Randy, take care of yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Great.
Wow.
Great guest.
I mean, can you believe the amount of things and, even going through, research, and we always, we do our due diligence when we're having a guest on, but just the amount of causes and the amount of people's lives that he's affecting from the high school, level all the way up to, pro athletes in recovery and the range of sports. Just an unbelievable guy and making an impact after he had an impact in the NFL is huge difference. Great for all leagues, especially the NFL.
That's like the roadmap for athletes that get out of the game is do some work, man. Do some good, like take your name and do some like good work for like maybe start small with your community and then just branch out, man. Because, a lot of these athletes, when they get out of the game, they're just kind of like, what do I do? Yeah. So and this guy who had drug addiction for a long time, and I think that's the template of a lot of these guys, retiring and maybe getting out of the game early is, do some good with your name and do some good out there in the community just to help, make it a better place. That was a great interview. He's a great guest, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, love that. We'll definitely have to have him back on. But we opened the show. We talked a little bit about Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, the old guard and the new guard. Let's talk a little bit about, their experience with each other. Obviously, they've played each other, I believe, 4 times. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs have outscored Brady's teams 121-120. So very, very close. Obviously, the Chiefs have taken the last 2 matchups, but probably the closest thing we have to Super Bowl atmosphere is the 2018 AFC Championship. We kind of remember that game. Penalties really offset what would have been a Chiefs Super Bowl ticket with a pick in I think there was like 1 minute left in the game. So, let's talk a little bit about that game and what we're going to see in the Super Bowl and how that's kind of different from that. But what similarities are you guys seeing between this Buccaneers team with Tom Brady and that 2018 Patriots team with Tom Brady?
I mean, I think defensively, you're looking at a defense that's going to be well coached, and the Patriots run, a different system, but they still have those types of players. They had guys that were the ball hawks. They had Devin White, and they had very similar linebacking cores, and they do have similar guys up front as far as talents are concerned. So overall, I think those teams are pretty similar, except the cornerbacks. A little bit of difference in that area, I would say. But still both really good defensive teams, and they have playmakers, I think, in the right spots. Very similar.
I look at that. His defense was stacked, man. They had Will Fork, they had Vrabel, Junior Seau, Asante Samuel, Teddy Bruschi. Like, that's a murderer's row of a defense that you want on there. And I think comparing those two is almost equal because of the guys that the Bucs have on their defense. Now, offense, it's a little bit different. I think that was the year Randy Moss was on the team. You still had Wes Welker too. So, Wes Welker, Scotty Miller's kind of like a Wes Welker. You know,
He is
that speedy white boy receiver, and then Randy Moss and Mike Evans can kind of be compared to each other too. So honestly, I think the only difference in this game is Brady's not facing Eli Manning and the Giants. So because Eli's beat him twice. So I think that's the difference maker. Well, not the difference maker, of course, but I think with this is an older, grizzled Tom Brady. This is a Tom Brady that's like, hey, I'm out of the shadow of New England. I've proved this in one season. I'm at the Super Bowl with another team, another coach, a brand new system, which I learned. Like him winning the Super Bowl is like the cherry on top of that legacy that he doesn't really need to add on, but he's going to add on to no matter what. But the comparable of these two teams is almost similar in a way. Just like the way the defense was stacked up and the way the offense was too. Now, obviously the coaching was different, but the similarities are just so it's almost eerie. Eerie.
Yeah. I think cornerback though, they had Asante Samuel, they had Gilmore, so they had a lot of. I mean, those are a lot of experience,
guys, man.
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah, that's the only area I see that's different. But I mean, and like we said, I think that's kind of eerie. They do. I mean, you have rangy linebackers with Devin White and David Levante. I mean, they know they can move around. And, they have athletic linemen that can get out and do what they need to do with the pass rush. So, yeah, eerily similar and excited to see that unfold.
I've got a question for both of you.
Oof. Okay.
So would you take the 2008 New England Patriots defense or the 2020 Buccaneers?
No, do you mean the 2019 New England defense, or do you mean
I'm talking about
2008?
2008, yeah, the one they played the Giants, the one we were just talking about, not the 2019. I'm talking about.
Okay, I thought we were talking about the Chiefs and the. Okay,
no, I'm talking about the AFC. Would you take the New England defense that Brady had on his side, or would you take the Buccaneers defense that he has on his side for this Super Bowl?
I would take the Buccaneers defense this year for the playoffs, right? So I would say if you take a sample of the last like 4 to 5 games the Buccaneers have played, that defense, I would take that. Now, if you're talking the whole season, probably that Patriots defense.
Okay. Yeah. What about the offense side? Would you take the Bucs offense or the Patriots offense? I had to throw alerts in there, didn't I?
I don't know.
No, that was a long time ago.
So long. Offense was completely also like you have to remember offense has changed so much in the past 3 or 4 years. So like it's just completely different, right? Like defense really used to dominate. You could have like a good run game, a good defense, and you're gonna probably win a Super Bowl. Now it's kind of like they want this like high powered dynamic offense. They want to be able to be shifty, like get out of the pocket, throw the ball. But I think it just looks so different. So I don't know.
It's a great Twitter poll.
That is a great Twitter poll.
I should put that up right now.
Now, what's the Twitter poll? What's the question you're going to ask?
Who would you rather take? The 2008 Patriots or the 2019, 2020 Buccaneers?
Gotcha.
Yeah. Who would you take? Which one would be better for Brady? There we go. There we go.
Well, I mean, I think Brady in 2008 is probably better.
Why?
I think
we'll let the people decide.
You can let the people decide.
I'll let the people.
One of the keys to that AFC Championship game was the Chiefs defense really allowing Brady to convert on a lot of third downs, right? Like I think the stats were 13 of 19. And that's something that we saw the Bucs kind of struggle with earlier in the season and even kind of into the second half of the season, not really in the playoffs, but we've seen Tom Brady not have the best stats in these playoff games. But, the last game was fine, and especially on third down. Do you think, I guess, what improvements have you seen from the Chiefs and their ability to kind of stop those third down situations on defense? I mean, they've had a pretty, outstanding secondary. So what improvements have they made to give them a little bit better of a shot against Brady this weekend?
They're pretty good. Yeah, I was going to say they're pretty good at stopping the run. And that's one of the things that the Buccaneers have been pretty good about, especially in the playoffs, this stretch of games. We've seen this run game. What are you laughing about?
Nothing. You'll catch on a little bit here.
Oh, did I mess something up?
No. Reed, talk. You're doing fine.
Okay. All right.
You
guys put in a private. Okay. There we go.
I didn't mean to interrupt your thought.
That was the year?
Yeah, dude. I thought we were talking about
my years wrong. I got my years wrong. I'm sorry. It happens.
It's okay.
Little brain fart. Okay. Let's
Yeah.
rewind it back. All right.
It's okay.
Chip, you
That's
answer.
all right.
You answer
Keep
the
going,
question.
keep going.
I gotta get my mind right. Chip, you answer the question.
I took you out of sorts there. My bad.
You did. It happens.
So to that, we're talking about the Chiefs changing, being ready. I think that they're going to be in a spot where Tyrann Mathieu is going to be a wild man all over the field. And Brady, we heard in his interviews yesterday how much he respects him as a player and how much he's going to have to figure out where he is on the field. I think that Chris Jones up front for the Chiefs is going to be a big, big piece on how their rush goes. I think the line and Jensen is going to be able to hold him at bay, I hope. But if there's quick pressure directly over Jensen at center, the quickest way to get to Brady is a straight line, 2 points. So if you run right over Jensen, you're going to start making bad decisions. You're going to toss the ball. And I hope we don't see the Green Bay Hail Marys to no one popping off like champagne bottles thrown 30 feet in the air to no wide receivers. I hope we don't see those.
I don't think
so. Yeah, I think Jones and I think Jensen, that's a battle we're going to have to watch. And, just like Randy talked about, we're going to have to see the trenches, the hog mollies. Those guys are going to have to be ready and hold up the line to make sure we get the time.
Do you think they've made the adjustments from week 12 where they got, just kind of lambasted in the first half? Now, obviously in the second half, they looked like they were kind of getting things together, but do you think defensively, are they going to be prepared to cover Tyreek and Travis Kelce?
I don't know. I think it's a hard thing to really predict because I think the team we saw in week 12 was obviously completely different. They went into the bye. They came out of the bye looking like a brand new team. I don't want to say brand new because they stumbled a little bit out of the gate from the bye, but still winning games and really transforming coming into the playoffs. So I do think that this Chiefs offense is different, right? And I think they're different than most every other team in this league. So I think it's one thing to talk about the Saints and the Packers and all these teams that maybe aren't 100% or don't have quite the level of talent or as mobile of a quarterback. But I mean, you have a lot on your hands with the Chiefs. So that's the tough part.
I think it all depends on too, what kind of schemes is Todd Bowles going to bring it up? Because if they go to man-to-man or zone, they're going to get beat. And that's how they got beat last time by Tyreek. I mean, he was man-to-man against, I think it was Carlton Davis, and Davis just was blown away. Like he was left in the dust by Tyreek. So I hope they did make the adjustments going in. I mean, they got 2 weeks to prepare for this. I mean, looking at your tape from week 12, you got to be like, okay, this is who we got to be actually on. This is actually who's going to be on Tyreek. I mean, either way, you got to double team him, but then you got to worry about Travis Kelce too. Like who's going to be on him? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that the playoffs, we've seen man on man. Like we were able to shut down Michael Thomas. It's been man. They were able to shut down Devontae Adams. They've ran man coverage. So now we're going back to the one team that really exposed us in man coverage bad. So we're going to see, I think, in the first 2 or 3 series, I think the Chiefs will go directly back to what happened, and they're going to try Tyreek Hill, and they're going to know in the first 2 or 3 plays if they're running zone or if they're going to run man. And I hope we should make the change, I think, to probably zone and a safety over the top on wherever Tyreek Hill is. But we will see. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we got a different player. Maybe Davis now has licked his wounds, figured it out, and he'll say, "Hey, I got this." So, I mean, you know what though? I think he's going to have a huge chip on his shoulder. I mean, whoever's over there, and we don't know who will be over there.
Whitehead is out for the game, and I think Antoine Whitfield Jr. is questionable still, so they don't know if he's going to be starting the game or not. So he's still kind of up in the air. He could be in the game, he could not be. So
who?
Antoine
Winfield Jr.
Really?
Yeah, he's still questionable right now. But Whitehead is out. He's out for the game.
Okay.
I feel like this game comes so much down to coaching on both sides of the ball because I think obviously with Todd Bowles, the more you talk about defensive schemes and zone versus man and trying to get pressure up front on Patrick Mahomes, the more you talk about all of those things, the more it seems like you talk in circles, because it's hard to find the right answer, because you're going to be left exposed to some extent, which is really how the Chiefs offense is set up. And then on the offensive side of the ball, I mean, the Chiefs do a great job on defense, and they've done a great job on defense in a lot of different ways this season. But, I think coaching, it's going to come so much down to, can Andy Reid out scheme Todd Bowles, right? Because I think we've seen it happen too. Like, I think the Chiefs are one of those unique teams where they know who they are, but they can also throw out the entire plan and shift and get really creative and still beat you, in the fourth quarter. So how this offensive line situation, I know we've talked about it, but how much do we really feel like it's going to play a factor? I mean, you have to think, like, the Chiefs did a lot of shuffling around on their offensive line before the season even started. They've got, 2 guys who were backups. They got a guy from the Steelers. Obviously, they had people switching around positions. I think they had like 2 people opt out, and then 3 of their starters get injuries right before the season started. So they basically have been on this like shifty
patchwork
patchwork offensive line for 16 games.
It's been working. That's the crazy. It's been working.
Yeah, and so that's the thing, is as much as we talk about it as an equalizer, it's really incredible what Andy Reid's been able to do with that team, and obviously the whole coaching staff being able to put together something like that and then get to a Super Bowl, because that's a huge part of your offense. So I don't know, do you think that's going to make a huge impact? I mean, the Bucs are on a roll on their defensive line, so that's one thing, but how much do we really think it's going to hold the Chiefs back?
I think it's massive, dude. I think because of the caliber and quality of Bucs defensive linemen, that front 7 is one of the best in the NFL. The best against the rush, hands down. Yeah. But I also think the pass rush, it's just going to be better, and it doesn't have to be. I mean, we want it to be dominant, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming. They've just got to keep Mahomes in the pocket. That's where he, loses a lot of his, wow factor. If you keep him in the pocket, he can't hurt you as bad. He's much more accurate. He's much more dangerous when he's moving. So if you keep him in the pocket, you can control the flow of the game. So I think hopefully it makes a huge difference, and we'll just have to see. But I think it'll make a difference.
We had a great question from the chat from Jason. He's saying, do you agree with Marcus Spears saying Devin White is going to be the best linebacker in the NFL next year? I think he's already one of the best this year, though his body of work this year. And then he's saying, how big of a game is he going to have for the Bucs to hoist the Lombardi Trophy? I mean, huge. He's going to have a huge game. I mean, that defense almost mirrors the defense of old with the Saps and that
Brooks.
Yeah, Brooks. Yeah. That defense. It's almost comparable to that defense, and that's saying a lot. And that defense won them the Super Bowl that year against the Raiders. So for Devin White to be that leader going into there, I think JPP, Devin White, Vita Vea, like all those guys are going to have to step up their level of game. Like, it was all great against the Packers. Like, they got after to Aaron Rodgers all day long. But this is Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And going back to that offensive line thing, they're going to have to hold those guys. I mean, that's Todd Bowles is going to throw everything at them. Like, he's going to be dialing up blitz packages all day, and Spagnuolo is too. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, the Chiefs are probably going to do the same thing to Tom Brady, because Tom Brady's not that mobile of a guy. So if you get Tom Brady out of the pocket, he's more than likely going to make a mistake, which we've seen in past games. So it's going to be huge. Those offensive lines have to hold up against really good defenses. So it's going to be interesting on Sunday.
Yeah. And I think that question too, the defense has Devin White's had huge games since he's been back, right? And then you look at everyone on the defense is making plays. Every week in the playoffs, we've talked about Shaq Barrett, we've talked about JPP, we've talked about all these guys. Devin White is just one of those guys where every single time the defense gets a turnover, fumble recovery, like he's involved, right? He's somewhere in that play. He's someone who's making those plays happen. So I don't know that he has a huge game. I think he has a game where he plays like himself, which is what we've seen the past few weeks. So I don't know if he has to go out of his way to do anything. I think he just has to play the game that he's been playing for the past games.
I'll go back. I'll dial it back. if they keep playing that the way they've been playing in the playoffs, they're going to be fine.
They'll be fine. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I also think Devin White, I mean, and I said this, it was either last week or the week before, if you're an NFL scout, you're going back to his tape at the combine and you're reading everything that he did and you're looking at the plays he made and you're going and you're looking for that prospect as a linebacker. You're repeating whatever he did, his measurables. You're looking for that type of player now. And I really feel that he's probably one of the guys that can shadow, and maybe they'll use him. He can shadow a guy like Kelsey, and he can stay with Kelsey in the first probably 8 to 10 yards. Now, if Kelsey gets by him, I mean, it's off to the races. He's gonna be able, I think, to be a little bit more athletic. But in that intermediate time, that 8 to 10 yards, maybe even 12 yards, the Bucs pass rush needs to get upfield quick enough. White can cover him, and then you can shadow your safety over the top of Tyreek Hill, and I think that's how you can do that. Now, if you do that, you lose your spy on Patrick Mahomes. So that's the reason if you don't keep him in the pocket, that's when trouble can come up. So I think White can play so many roles for the Bucs. He is definitely, I think, one of the best linebackers in the NFL, and will really he's had a coming out party this year, but I think he'll be monumental. You'll see what a big piece he is on the defense that could lose, Levante David and some other guys as well.
Yeah.
You guys see the press conferences today with Brady?
I watched some of them.
I haven't watched it, no.
I'll go back to I swear to God, he's a vampire. He looks 25. He's got more hair.
Got so much Botox. He's got so much Botox.
That better not come out, dude.
I'm positive. So you want to hear a funny story?
Obviously, yes.
So for work, we posted this thing about it was like a picture of Tom Brady the first year. It was his headshot the first year he made the Super Bowl, his headshot this year, right? And there was actually like a few plastic surgery accounts that are basically they're plastic surgeons who run accounts, and then people tag them in certain celebrities and athletes and whatever, and they give their opinion professionally on what, based on looking at the progression of someone's face, like what they could have had done. And they do it from the standpoint of like, we respect you, if you want to have it done, no problem, but we're giving like a very informed opinion about this. So we had a few of those take every headshot of Tom Brady's career, put it together and really give their opinion on it. And they all gave the same opinion, right? Like they all gave, like he was getting jaw filler. And then at some point, and they can't pinpoint when, he ended up getting jaw implants, which is very common. And then they said he might have had a minor rhinoplasty, and he's definitely had all this Botox. And I was just reading this and I was just like, yeah, that makes sense.
It's the kale salads, dude. That's what it is.
I'm going to bring up this photo real quick. If everybody in the chat could probably see this. Hold on. This stupid internet's going.
And just to shout out Trevor Miller, we'll see Gronk. We know we're going to leave him in for a lot of pass protection, but yeah, I think Kansas City's susceptible to tight end. It'll be interesting to see who's shadowing him if Tyrann Mathieu is back deep. Okay, there we go.
That's Tom Brady. Rookie season.
Yeah. It's not a good look.
I'm telling you, it's the kale avocado salads, avocado
that's
cream.
That's a look at that.
So this is Tom Brady throughout the years.
Also, remember that his wife's a supermodel.
Yes.
So that's when he got veneers. So that's when he got his veneers.
You think was that this photo right here?
Go back.
Oh.
And then
a nice little ad.
The ultimate game changer. Yes, he is.
Okay.
That one. Okay.
Now, if you go back,
looks like pearly whites.
Go back one. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, you're not ugly. You're just poor. Everyone remember that. His wife's a supermodel, you guys. She's very familiar, I'm sure, with this landscape.
So this is where it looks like he's starting to get chiseled.
Yeah.
He's more chiseled. Now another ad. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then that's 2012, and now he looks.
He had a rough year.
Yeah, that's true. And now 2020, like Tom Brady, he looks younger than that photo from 2012.
When you look at his photos, and I often have to look up his photos for work, but when you look up his photos in a Bucs uniform, his face looks terrifying. I mean, it looks, not necessarily that one.
I mean,
but look at like one of these from the side where he's like on the field. I mean, come on.
That's Gillette.
Come on. I
That's
mean,
Patriot.
you're telling me this guy doesn't have Botox? That's what you're telling me right now?
if he does, he's
I'm
gonna
telling you, I eat avocados every week and drink a gallon of water a day. And look at me.
Do you hang from the ceiling like a bat, Kaylee?
No, maybe it's the blood rushing to his face when he sleeps.
I don't care what he does, dude. If he brings home the trophy, do whatever you want.
Yeah. I mean, for you guys, love
Shoot
that.
your face, fill your lips, smudge avocado on your forehead. Do whatever you got to do, dude.
I'm not.
I'm not against it. You know,
I was thinking about actually doing the TB12 diet. I went on today. I was like, maybe I could be like Tom Brady.
I'm not going to slander his business because I think he'd probably sue me, but I would just look into it.
I'm going to. I really am.
I'm pretty sure it's a lot of junk science, but
I really am. I looked at it today. I'm like, okay, they've got electrolytes because they actually have the plan that he does each and every day. Wakes up at like 6 a.m., drinks a gallon of his water with lemon electrolytes, the TB12, and then at 8 a.m. he drinks a blueberry acai smoothie, and then at 10 o'clock he eats an egg, and then at noon he drinks more water, and then at 2 o'clock he sacrifices a young child to Satan, and then drinks the blood. And
oh God,
I'm kidding about the last part.
That's some real like Viking type
it's discipline, guys. That's all it is. He's been doing it now for 17 something years, and this is why he's going to play till he's 812.
Look
it
here.
doesn't matter.
As a fellow injectable user, I don't mind. I just let's be honest about it, you guys. You know, like when I get it done, I post on there with like swollen. I'm like posting from the doctor. I'm like, look at me, I did it. You know, I don't understand like hiding it. It's so annoying. I love it.
What if I think he also probably sleeps in a hyperbolic chamber as well?
Probably.
Hyperbaric. Sorry, hyperbaric.
Hyperbaric. Yeah.
Hyperbaric. So
that could be.
That could happen too. I mean, he's got skin like an angel. I mean, he's a beautiful.
He's
man.
got goat money, dude. So he can pretty much do what he wants.
Just remember, everyone out there, you're not ugly. You're poor.
That's right.
Me too. Before we. Let's talk about the Bucs put out a statement about firing the Cannons and how that will not be happening on Sunday. To me, this was pretty obvious. People are very up in arms about it. What do you guys think about this?
All right.
You know that whole
lead the charge.
I'll lead the charge on this one. You know that whole phrase that your parents say to you when you get in trouble, like, "I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed." That's kind of how I am. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. And somebody tweeted me today saying, how do you feel about this? And I was like, it is what it is. I mean, you can't change nothing. Obviously, they wanted to make it as level as it is when the playing field is. But I mean, you would think, that's what everybody really wanted was if they're going to be at the Super Bowl being the home team, like you should be able to have the Cannons fire when they score a touchdown. Now, obviously, we're getting it for the introductions, and if they win the Super Bowl, those are going to be fired off. I'll take that. I'll take that over nothing. Like that's fine with me. So I wasn't surprised where, they came out and said, "Hey, we're only going to be doing it for this, not for when they score." I'm okay with that. I'd rather take that over nothing at all. I'm okay.
I think this is the biggest freaking hogwash malarkey sandwich I have ever freaking had to take and eat. I hate that, dude. They have fired Cannons there since Pirates drank rum and we wore orange jerseys, for Pete's sake. Yeah. Fire those things. And I tell you what, if we win, they better fire them like 50 times. I want to hear explosions for an hour.
They will. Don't worry.
They better.
They will.
Yes.
So I guess I'll have to deal with it. But
to the comments, we do get a coin toss there. They've already made the coin. If you Google it, it's pretty cool. There's
what do you think, Kaylee, about that? No,
I feel like it's common sense. I was kind of surprised that they had to put out a statement about it. I guess, like, for me, Yeah, and here's my opinion on the home team thing. I don't find it that charming. Like I get that it hasn't happened. But I think that's more circumstance and random than it is anything else. Like I think here's the thing is like the Super Bowls are planned out in advance. The state of your team when they're planned out, it is very like the chances of it happening are actually not that slim. It just hasn't happened by circumstance. So it's not like a 1 in a million opportunity. There's a higher percentage chance of it happening. It's just surprising that it hasn't happened. I don't find it that charming. I don't think it's that great of a story. I think as we've talked about before, I think knowing the Super Bowl was coming to Tampa, knowing the state of the Buccaneers, I think Tom Brady made a very strategic decision to check off all of the bucket list options, which was winning a Super Bowl in the home stadium, coming to a new team, getting away from Belichick and winning a Super Bowl. Like all of those things are things that he thought about before. And I think if we don't address that, like that's really naive. But I think this is more of a plan. They've thrown all this money into making this a really like short term solution to winning a Super Bowl. And here they are. Like it's more of like, okay, yeah, this is what's supposed to happen, then like, wow, look at this great Cinderella story. Like that's not what it is. So I'm not that charmed by it. I find like the home stadium things to be pretty like, it's more prop betty than anything to me. I don't find it to be like that impressive. I just find it like weird that it hasn't happened before now. But I mean, I agree. I think like the Bucs aren't paying Raymond James Stadium to be there. The NFL is, right? Like the NFL is paying the stadium to host the Super Bowl. And if it wasn't the Bucs, it'd be another team. So I think this is pretty obvious.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird that no one else has done what Tom Brady's done. Why hasn't somebody else, like as a free agent, gone, we're hosting the Super Bowl somewhere in this city. They have a great team. Why can't I go there?
I think it's harder. I think it's easier said than done. Like I think in the NBA, I think that the NFL is moving in that direction. Like the NBA is very much where you can shift around and say, you know, I want to win a championship. Let me go to this team and win a championship. And I think that's something that's a little more attainable in that league. I think in the NFL, like we haven't really seen that yet. So I think Tom Brady is like really kind of blazing a trail in which like, here's all the pieces put in place. And also like when you think back to the teams where like 2 or 3 years before the Super Bowl was going to play there, like who's really been in like such an incredible position to be like, yeah, I could get traded there. They have enough salary cap. They have the perfect team in place. They'll bring in any player I want. And then we'll win the Super Bowl in our home city. It's just kind of like, I don't know.
Tom Brady's a pioneer and he was alive when the pioneers first came over to the land.
He was. He ranked out in Philly.
It's the Tom Brady effect. That's why I think at pick number 199 when nobody else was taking a chance on him, Satan came and said, "Hey, if you sign your life away to me, I will get you drafted. You will start at some point, and then you will win all these championships and things. You'll have supermodel wives. You'll have this great life. Only you give me your damn soul." And I think that's what happened. This was predetermined a long time ago at pick number 199.
Hey, I love Jason and his comments. See, Jason, he knows the story. Look at this. The Packers host the Super Bowl. No Lambeau leaps.
I don't think that's the same thing.
What?
Is that just my?
It's the same thing.
It's kind of the same thing because that's a staple at Lambeau. The Lambeau leap. I mean,
yeah, but the leap is the player doing the action. Isn't it? So like that's the difference, right? It's like the Super Bowl is paying to be there to host a neutral event.
Well, so what if because of COVID rules, maybe they're saying, hey, you can't do the Lambeau leap.
So if it's COVID rules, that's different.
Okay.
But like, I think because that would apply to a lot of teams, right? Like a lot of players go run up to the fans. Maybe they might not leap, but they go run up to the fans and throw the ball or whatever. So maybe if it's COVID, that's a whole separate thing. I don't think that's anything like Lambeau leaps because I think like players are going to bring whatever traditions they want into the game, right? Like they're going to run up to the fans. If they run up to the fans, they're going to do whatever they do. Lambeau leaps to me is more like saying like, that's more of a celebration than it is the stadium and the team creating a home field advantage during the Super Bowl. I mean, it'd be different if like the announcer got on the board and said, time for the Lambeau Leap or whatever. I don't know. I haven't been it'd be different if like the stadium was hyping up the Lambeau Leap. Like that shouldn't be allowed. But if players just do it on their own, what are you going to do? That's not the same thing.
Okay.
All right, fine. Somebody hide a cannon in the freaking player tunnel, and then you get there, you run in the player tunnel, and you fire that thing, baby.
There could be a slip, like, hey, they turned a blind eye for like one score and just fire the cannon. It's like, oh yeah, we made a mistake. We weren't supposed to do that. That might happen.
Buck staff, hide the cannons in the freaking tunnel, and then let the players run in the tunnel. Boom! I need it.
It's gonna happen, man. Don't worry.
Don't
worry. Don't worry. It's
gonna
happen.
The cannons are gonna fire at some point.
Yes.
I mean, even if they lose, they're gonna be fired at the beginning, and if they win, they're gonna be fired at the end, probably all night. So who knows?
We need cannon fire.
I might have to call off work on Monday. So
that's notoriously one of the biggest no-show call days in U.S. work history. Now imagine COVID remote. That probably flips. It's probably no longer an issue because everybody's already at home anyway. So you're not really missing work because you work from home.
Well, all you do is you put a picture cutout of yourself on Zoom calls and just be like, what do you have to say about that there, Evan?
That'd be a good
Wi-Fi. I think it's Wi-Fi screwed up. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, come on.
That would be a good Twitter poll question. How are you going to handle your Super Bowl hangover? Are you going to put a note on your Zoom call, sick due to Super Bowl hangover, or do you just freeze a picture? Or how do you get out? How do you get out of your meetings after the Super Bowl when working from home?
So far in our Twitter poll for which team would you rather take? It's 2020 Bucks, obviously. So far.
Yeah,
it happens.
I know.
We think.
That's almost as surprising as no cannon fire to me. But I mean, I'm not disagreeing. I mean,
she brings such heat to the show with her such a realist you are, Kaylee.
I know. I try.
So honestly, we got 2 days, and then we got our next show. Now, I don't know about you guys, and I like to ask both of you. Midday, usually I'll eat lunch, and I come out of my office, and I'll sit at the kitchen table, and I try to watch interviews. I think I'm going to be getting more nervous as we get closer to game day. And then game day, when we're at Rafferty's, beautiful downtown Sarasota, 1888, come join us. I won't sit down the entire game. Are you, Evan? You said you're really nervous now, but gauge your nervousness by the next time we do a show on Thursday.
Well, Thursday we have a matchup show against the Believe in Chiefs podcast.
Yes,
so got that. Yeah, that's booked with Jeff and Joe. So as the week gets more towards the game, it becomes real, like, hey, it's coming. And then, I mean, you saw me on last Sunday against the Packers. I got to the second half. I was standing up for the last 2 quarters. I couldn't. So, coming, it's just, I think
just don't scream at me this time. I'm only celebrating when you scream the other direction.
I'll scream away from you. I won't scare small children like I did last time. So
Good
I think
there's the fun in that.
I know. I think I scared those Packer fans a little bit as I was
but that's okay.
Using my metal voice when I was screaming and yelling at the TV. So, as the week goes on, like more alcohol gets consumed because it's reality sets in, and then it's Sunday. Like here we go. Let's LFG. Let's go.
Kaylee, I know your excitement level is a little bit tempered compared to Evan and I's, but tell me, A, your excitement, but B, are you starting to flip the other side of the coin and think about the last game of the year is really Sunday?
Yeah, that's the depressing part for me. I'm a little sad because, I like sports in general, but football is more of a passion of mine. So it is, and it has the longest, like one of the longer off seasons. There's not as much. I mean, luckily it seems that we have a lot of off season moves being made, and they will continue to be made. A lot of QB things going on. So we'll have stuff to pay attention to, but
got the draft coming up too.
The draft coming up. All of these things that, are going to be fun, but games are obviously ideal. The being in the season is ideal, but
You know what? As one, door closes, two more open up because baseball will be back, and
we're not talking about baseball. We're not talking about baseball.
He's trying, dude. He's trying
not
so
until
hard.
next week. Not until next week.
All I said, it's coming. I wasn't going to mention anything about what happened today. I'm not going to do it until next week's. Okay.
That's like saying you can't eat this whole chocolate cake, but here's 100-calorie snack pack with like 4 M&Ms in it. That's what that's like.
No good. That is no good.
I would take the 4 M&Ms. So jokes on you.
I'm taking them. I'm going to eat it.
Yes.
Like I'm not going to turn away food. I'm just saying,
No.
What kind of M&Ms? We talking about plain peanuts?
I feel like when they come in like a trail mix snack pack, they're always plain and they're kind of like dusty from the nuts.
No. I would throw those across the room, and then I would go pick them up because of the 5-second rule, and I would still eat them. So I can't.
Exactly.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, look, I'm not picky about food. I'll eat anything. So I just would rather have a chocolate cake in front of me than trail mix. But that's me personally.
I understand.
I know you're a big trail mix guy, big baseball guy. And Evan tried to sneak baseball into the show last minute. We
weren't going to do it.
And I was like, there's absolutely zero way. We have 5 days of football left. We're not talking about baseball.
I said if we had time, and obviously,
save it.
It's fine.
We don't have time.
I'll save it till next week.
That's right.
Any final thoughts before we get the freak out of here?
Dude, 2 sleeps until our next show where we go head on with the Chiefs podcast from Believe, fire the cannons, position matchups, and then we're so close. I might not be able to sleep tonight.
IPA is the new former
the
former New England IPA, which was fantastic.
Yes.
Go on to our Instagram page and check out that photo, which I took with my phone. It's a really great picture.
It is
very refreshing.
Actually, you're doing way better at the end. I know.
I was proud of
the Android, so I was pretty surprised at the quality of that photo.
I was pretty proud of myself. I'm like, wow, this actually looks professional as I took that photo. And then I did like some editing to it too. I'm like, wow, I'm starting to become an Instagrammer. It's scary.
Yeah, you're going to become an influencer before we know it. Like, we're going to be out at Rafferty's one day, like watching a game, and he's just going to be like, wait, before anyone eats, I got to take a photo and get it on Instagram.
Hold on, guys. I got to peddle some skin cream and some cucumber water real quick before we do it. Yeah. All right. So thank you to everyone who tuned in the comments. Follow Evan's really great photography skills on Instagram at PlayTheBayTV, on Twitter at PlayTheBayTV, Facebook at PlayTheBay2020, Apple, Spotify, everywhere you listen to podcasts. Rate, review, subscribe, leave us a nice review. You want to, and we will catch you guys on Thursday. Bye.
Bye.
By the way, I haven't shaved in a while, so I won't until after the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I didn't know where you were going.
Not my whole body. I'm just talking about my face. Just the face.
Oh, right. It's over. Oh, geez.
Come on. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Play the Bay. We'll be back again with another episode on the Believe Podcasting Network. If interested in advertising, please contact Believe.com.